If you are a prospective EV buyer, you've probably waited a long time for this car. After a lot of speculation and spy pics and rumors, it is finally here. This is the Tata Nexon EV Max. Now the Max suffix is for one thing and one thing only, the extra range and the bigger battery. This right here might look like the standard EV, but underneath it packs in a lot of new, improved and updated tech. One look won't be enough to tell it apart from the standard Nexon EV, since there is absolutely no badge stating that this is a Max. If you are a Nexon expert though, you will notice the change in the paint shade, which is called Intensity. At the front, it still gets halogen headlamps with LED DRLs. There has been no change to the dimensions, so the length, wheelbase and width remain the same. However, the ground clearance is now 190 mm, which is 15 mm less than on the standard car. Over to the side, you will notice a slightly different design for the 16-inch alloy wheels, and if you look closer, you will also notice rear disc brakes on the EV Max. The rear has no change compared to the standard car, and it is the interior that sees the more noticeable updates. Now, unlike the exterior, the interior of the Nexon EV Max sees a fair amount of changes, and most of them are concentrated here on the center console. The first one, the big one that jumps at you, is this drive selector that is now digital. It is backlit as well, so reading it in the day is very easy. If you look closely, it also has the tri-arrow design that is the theme on the Nexon EV, and it is set in a way where it feels like a nice knurled finish, so it really adds to that overall premium factor. Then you have an electronic parking brake now. There's also auto hold function. You have your region switch right here, very conveniently placed to adjust your region levels. There is eco mode and sport mode switches right here, so a lot has been crammed on your left hand. There is also a wireless charger, automatic rear view mirror, and on the luxe trims you also get front ventilated seats that work superbly. The other update includes an air purifier, along with some tech features like the updated Z Connect app that now gets 48 features, and safety has been upped as well with a TPMS and ESP. Other changes include slight graphic changes for the TFT display inside, which shows you your region level, the drive mode you're in, and overall it is a lot more easier to read and very convenient to use as well. So no big changes, but yes, it has upped the premium quotient of the Nexon by using beige and these very important additional features as well. Sadly, the Max doesn't mean any gain in the rear seat space, but there have been minor revisions. Now in the back seat, there is no change to the dimensions, so the wheelbase and length are still the same. There's nothing Max about it. You still get the same amount of room as before. However, what has changed is the floorboard. It is now 10 mm higher, and that means you have to sit slightly knees up. The raised floor is a result of the large battery, so taller adults will have to squeeze their knees a bit more back here. Now headroom for me is not an issue, legroom is not an issue either. You also get a nice center armrest with 2 cup holders, AC vents at the back, no USB port sadly, and that is a bit of a miss, but overall it's not too bad. And the one big, very positive factor is that the boot space has not been compromised. You see, with a gain in battery size, you would expect some of it to go back in the boot space, but it is still 350 liters, so that's a nice touch as well. However, while these updates are significant and quite important, the big one is the battery pack, which is now 40.5 kilowatt hour, 10 kilowatt hour more than the standard car, and what that means is power is up as well. The Nexon EV Max makes 143 horsepower with 250 Nm, and that allows it to go from 0 to 100 in 9.3 seconds. However, all of the 143 horsepower is available only in sport mode, and if you're in city mode or eco mode, power is restricted to 97 horsepower and 170 Nm. That said, it still feels significantly more responsive compared to the standard car. The top speed too has increased to 137 kph, but more importantly, thanks to the larger battery pack, Tata claims a range of 437, which is 125 km more than the standard car. Now that of course is the claim number by Tata. Real world numbers will not be that high, but you can still juice out a lot from this battery. In fact, in our real-world range tests that involved a mix of city and highway driving, the Nexon EV Max averaged 263 km at 6.5 km per kilowatt hour, which compared to the standard version is a gain of 55 km. And what also plays an important role in the Max are the regen levels.
You now have 4 modes, 0, 1, 2 and 3, 3 being the strongest and 0 used for coasting. And what that does is alter the resistance and juice up the battery a lot more prominently.
The change of regen levels also alter the overall range of the car. So if you are in sport mode with the lowest regen, you have the least range. And if you are in eco with the highest regen, you have the maximum range on offer.
Now what's also worth a mention on the Nexon EV Max is the curb weight. It has added on 100 kgs, 70 of which have come from the battery tech and 30 of which have come from the extra bit of equipment. Now because of that gain of 100 kgs, the suspension has had to go through a bit of a retune. As a result, it is now slightly more firm than before. You have a fair amount of body movement, especially on broken patches. You definitely feel the thuds come into the cabin.
On a flat road while cruising though, the stability is excellent and handling as a result is good too.
What also helps is the steering. Now it is hefty, it has a good amount of weight to it, and that is slightly cumbersome in the city because maneuvering in tight spaces, parking, 3-point turns, U-turns are a bit of a problem because it has gained a fair amount of weight, but that translates very well on corners and on twisties. What's also upgraded for the Nexon EV Max are the brakes. You now have disc brakes at the rear. This is the only Nexon that gets discs at the rear, and they do show in braking. The brake feel and pedal effort are very, very natural. It doesn't feel like an EV or a hybrid, it doesn't have that wooden feel to it.
The reason for that is the updated braking. Tata has done away with a vacuum booster and in place is sort of a pressure pump that offers a better blend of friction and regen.
And that is something that's really impressive because when you're coming to a halt or if you encounter an emergency, you want to brake hard, it is very, very natural. You don't get a knee-jerk reaction. It does not feel inconsistent or lackluster in any way, and it definitely does not feel wooden. It is a lot more sure-footed, and that is something that is very impressive on the Nexon EV Max.
Tata has also introduced a 7.2 kilowatt fast charger option which costs 50,000 rupees more, and that plays a huge role in the recharging times. A full charge of 0 to 100% takes 6.5 hours on the 7.2 kilowatt AC wallbox charger. On a 15 ampere plug, the Nexon EV Max will take 15 hours from 10 to 100%, and DC charging from 0 to 80% at 50 kilowatt takes 56 minutes. However, if you don't buy the 7.2 kilowatt charger, you can always choose to opt for one later and get access to the fast charging. That said, if you buy the standard Nexon EV, it will not support the bigger charger. The Nexon EV Max is priced from 17.74 lakh rupees to 19.24 lakh rupees, which is a good 2 lakh rupees more than the standard EV. However, for that relatively marginal extra, you get a larger battery, more range, usable features and fast charging options. The Nexon EV was already a strong value proposition in the EV game, and the Max has definitely taken it further ahead.